Welcome to Digital Marketing This Week. It's episode 34. We're calling this one Getting the Most from Live Events. It's brought to you by Seriously Simple Marketing over at SeriouslySimpleMarketing.com. My name is Chris Mercer. I'm all about analytics and optimization and content development, and of course, the host of Digital Marketing This Week. And just call me Mercer. It's a lot easier, especially when you see me at a live event, which we're about to talk about, because you scream out Mercer and I'll turn around. If you scream out Chris, hey, there's always another Chris in the room. Okay, so this week's focus topic, all about live events. Before we dive into that, though, just a real quick reminder. Now, if you're watching this recorded on YouTube or on our website, or if you're just subscribing through our podcast and you're just listening to this as it was recorded, you are encouraged, because we do record this live in front of a live chat room. So you can actually join us live. And in order to do that, just go to SeriouslySimpleMarketing.com. You'll see a little sign-up sheet there, and it puts you on the notification list. It's completely free. And the benefits, the big benefit is that you can ask questions and interact with us. So if you have a question about today's topic or any topic around digital marketing, you can actually enter your question in the chat room. We also have a little form that you could use, and you can actually get answers to your questions in somewhat real time. Because what we'll do is we'll cover some content here, and then I'll kind of get off the virtual stage, and we will move into answering the insiders' questions for all the people that are here live. Your goal, as always, is to get one idea, act on that one idea, and then repeat the process. Now, fortunately, normally what I say is, oh, the topic today we're covering is super complicated, so you definitely want to make sure you pay attention to this. With live events, not so much. Live events are a little easier, which is nice. So maybe you can take one or two ideas, but just take some simple ones and integrate them into your behavior. And like I said, if it seems like there is a lot of stuff to it, no big deal. Just pick one thing and make it your own. Okay, so why should you care about today? Because today we're going to talk about ways to make sure you get your money's worth. Now, live events in general, not always, because we're going to talk about the different types of live events that we're going to be addressing here, but in general, big live events require flights, they require hotel stays, they require tickets, they require meals, they require possibly lost income while you're at the live event. If you're an hourly, somebody who's paid hourly, or by a project that you may be not able to complete that week. There's lots of expenses that are associated to these. And because they are so massively expensive, it's important that you get your money's worth. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about how to build rapport with people while you're there. And I'm actually going to show you a sneaky little trick that you can automate your follow-up with. So it's a pretty cool little tool. And of course, more. All right, so let's talk about getting the most from live events. First, let's talk about which live events you should be attending. Now, this particular episode is all geared toward digital marketers, right? So we're assuming you're a digital marketer, and there are some really great conferences out there for digital marketers. Some of the biggest are here. Now, I've got traffic and conversion, because that's actually coming up as of the day. We're actually recording this live on February 11th, and traffic and conversion will be about a week away as of this recording, so I'll be going to that one. I've also gone to Affiliate Summit. So traffic and conversion is all about what it says. It's about ways to get traffic and ways to build funnels and ways to convert the traffic, right? Affiliate Summit is geared for those of you who are affiliate marketers. So if you're definitely in the affiliate space, Affiliate Summit is it's a must. It is huge. Both of these shows are huge. Affiliate Summit's actually a little bigger. So traffic and conversion, actually Affiliate Summit's quite a bit bigger. Traffic and conversion has about, I want to say it's like 3,000 to 4,000 people that go to it, which is huge. Don't get me wrong, it's absolutely huge. Affiliate Summit, however, their last show, which was in Vegas, they do two of these a year. They do two big shows. They do one East and they do one West. So the one that's in the West is always in Vegas. And for the most part, the one that's in East tends to be in the New York area. But Affiliate Summit West, which just wrapped up here in January, actually had around 6,000. So it was a massive show, and every year it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So it is a force. And if you are in the affiliate marketing space, you want to attend. And even if you're not in the affiliate marketing space, it's worth going at least once, just so you can see what's out there. You never know where you're going to find products to promote, people to help you promote. It's amazing. There are some good quality marketers that go to both of those. Now, the other one that I have up there is Meetup, and that's because it's really underutilized a lot. Now, where I live in Austin, Meetup is actually huge. We use it all the time. We actually have a local Meetup we call the Internet Marketing Party, which is starting to get a little more traction kind of on a more of a virtual scale now. In fact, we're actually hosting an internet marketing party in San Diego right before Traffic and Conversion next week. So that'll be huge. And at that particular party, we'll have probably about 600 people in San Diego that'll show up to that, which is great, right? You get a lot of good marketers and everything else. But the local meetups here, where you might only have, you know, in our case, you know, for the internet marketing party, we might have around 100 people, right? Sometimes a little less, sometimes a little more, but it averages around there. But there's lots of other meetups besides the internet marketing party here in Austin, and they're around digital marketing. So some are during the lunch. They've got some that are breakfast, some that are evenings, some that are dinners, some that are just hanging out at bars, and some that'll hang out at coffee shops, and some that'll hang out in office. They're all over the place. So meetups, even though you're not talking about thousands and thousands of people, check out meetup.com if it's in your area and take advantage of that. And if there isn't one that's currently in your area, it might be worth thinking about starting one, because you never know who else is looking. I believe it costs around $75. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's around that to actually start a meetup and have it. And then once you've got it, you're the organizer, and you just basically say, okay, we're going to talk about digital marketing, or we're going to talk about ways to get traffic. You know, like this is the traffic meetup, or this is the conversions meetup, or this is just the digital marketing meetup. You know, and put out there what you're interested in talking about. And Meetup does a pretty good job of saying, okay, who do you want to target? And you put in a bunch of interests, and then it'll fire out to everybody who's a part of that meetup area. And it'll say, like, hey, this meetup just started, you might be interested in attending. So a really, really great resource. So those are the different types of live events. There are, of course, lots of others that I wouldn't just have time to mention, but these are kind of the biggest players I want to draw your attention to. So when you first go to these live events, right? So when you get there, you've got to have a strategy. You can't just, or you wouldn't want to just show up and see what happens. Because when you do that, you tend to sort of go with the flow, and without having a goal in mind, you tend to not achieve a goal, right? Kind of a simple statement there, but it's true. Like if you don't have this expectation of what you're going to accomplish, right? If you don't know what good looks like, okay, so that's kind of the phrase you use. What does good look like? If you can't define what that looks like, then you're not going to know what to aim for. So it's important to have your strategy. And I'll give you like my personal strategy is going out to something like Traffic and Conversion, and we have our private clients that we do, you know, our coaching consulting with. So we're going to have clients that are out there. So it's our goal to make sure that we're out there taking care of those clients and meeting those clients, because we work predominantly virtually. We don't have an opportunity to meet clients because they're scattered all over the place, right? Thank goodness for the internet, we can do stuff like that. But occasionally you have these big giant events like Traffic and Conversion where our clients are also going to these conferences, and so we're able to meet and schedule dinners and everything else. So it's a great strategy for us. The other strategy that we're using is because of our new sales funnel with Seriously Simple Analytics, which is our analytics course. So with that, we're going to be interested in now having affiliates mail for that, and so it's going to be up to us to make sure that we're networking with the right people to see, you know, if somebody might be interested in promoting us, you know, and so that's going to be our kind of like our secondary strategy. But we have those kind of that end in mind, right, when we go out, so that we can make sure we're getting our money's worth. Because again, this is expensive. It's flights, it's hotels. You know, we ended up doing a VRBO, which is just like renting a house, like Airbnb is another site you can go to, or vrbo.com, which saved us a little bit of money on the hotel versus what a hotel would have been. But man, it's expensive. So we got to make sure your money's worth, and having a strategy, having that end in mind, knowing what good looks like is absolutely huge. So what should you bring? Now, the very first thing I have up here is business cards. And to be honest, when I first started in sort of this digital marketing world, I didn't have business cards. And so I'd go to all the different meetups, and that's how I started. I started at meetups, you know, locally, and just sort of looked around what was in my area and started hanging out with people. And everyone was, you know, oh, do you have a business card? Like, no, I don't. Well, do you have a business card? Well, no, I really don't. And so everyone was just sort of digital, right? The benefit of that is that you exchange phone numbers sometimes, right? Or texting what they call V cards or contact cards back and forth, right? So you can do that. However, having a good business card goes a long, long way. And there are some interesting places you can get them. Like the one that I actually recommend is a company called Moo. It's where we get ours. It's moo.com, just like the cow sounds. So moo.com. And if they're relatively cheap. They are very good quality. There are hundreds of designs you can choose from. And a lot of them, thank goodness, are fortunately templates. So you can just go in there, pick the template that you like, put in your name, your information. The font looks good. The colors are kind of already there. You don't need to really mess with it too much. And that's where we got ours. And they do come in handy. So I would bring a stack of business cards with me. In fact, one of the things that I ended up doing was at one of the conferences I went to. I didn't actually go with business cards. This is way back. My very first internet marketing conference was something called Affiliate.com Live. And it was with a course that I had purchased called Affiliate.com, right? And of course that I was going through. So I bought tickets and the flight and everything else to go out there, and I get out there and I don't really have business cards. So I ended up just printing out like little contact things one day, going to their business center at the hotel and just printing out a sheet of like my name and my address and or my name, my email, and my phone numbers, just so I had something to hand out. But again, if you are going to be attending a live event, have a business card. Don't kind of go the digital route. We're just not quite there yet. It's not that easy to switch contacts back and forth. And having a business card is helpful. Now, I'll tell you something else that's super helpful. Now, this is kind of a ninja trick and it will not apply with everybody, but I know some of you do use Infusionsoft. So grab this app. It's called Snap by Infusionsoft. Okay, so you go and you just go to the app store and grab the app called Snap, and it's by Infusionsoft. So there's, make sure that's the author. But what it does is phenomenal. So you take this app, and I can take a business card. And this is why people are like, oh my God, I have a stack of business cards. What am I going to do? How am I going to process them? Well, here's how you do it. You take your business card that you just got from somebody, and you take a half a second to open up this app, and then you take a picture of the business card, right? And it will automatically put that information from your business card into Infusionsoft. Now, that in and of by itself is cool, but the way it does it is really cool. So what happens is Infusionsoft has an entire team somewhere that is actually reading the business cards. So this is not what they call OCR. It's not optical character recognition. There's very little chance that someone's going to, like some computer is going to see the D and accidentally think it's a C. None of that stuff tends to happen because these are actual people that are literally transcribing the details of the credit card, and they type it into these contact fields. Then the app will ping you back, and this is why it's not completely instant, but it's pretty quick. The app normally, like, you'll take a picture of a credit card or of a business card, and you send it away, and then within about 20 minutes or so, you'll get a little ping back by the app that says, oh, hey, this is it's ready to be reviewed. And then you take a look at all the different cards that were typed in just to make sure the names and stuff are correct. I've never had one that isn't, which is good. So they're fairly accurate. And then you're like, okay, great, add. Now, the other cool part about this is each contact you can granularly control. And this is a thing with Infusionsoft. So admittedly, if you don't have Infusionsoft, this may not make sense to you. But if you do, take advantage of this. You can tag the contacts. So for example, I can create a campaign in Infusionsoft that says maybe just a Met campaign, right? So, or a live event campaign, you can call it that, something like that, or live event follow-up, something like that, right? And if the tag is I am, met at I am party, let's say at Internet Marketing Party, if I met them on this coming Monday at Internet Marketing Party, then in 6 hours, send an email that says, once that tag comes through, send an email that says, hey, it was great to meet you. Just wanted to make sure I sent you my details. Love to catch up soon. Let's connect over Skype or whatever, right? I could have another one that says met at Traffic and Conversion. And so then that particular contact, as they get approved, and I'm about to enter them officially into Infusionsoft, I'll just tag them with met at TNC, right? So now I've got a TNC contact, and that email would say something like, hey, it was really great meeting you, TNC. I'm loving traffic conversions so far. It's great to meet you. Here's my contact details. Let's be sure to catch up after the event. And all of this is automated. I type these emails, let's say I could type them today, right? And it's just an automated process. All I got to do is just use the Snap app. And it's a really cool ninja way to follow up. So again, if you have Infusionsoft and you attend live events, if you do, this is really good, by the way, if you happen to be doing like trade shows, things like that, where you collect a lot of business cards, it's amazing. It's a really, really cool tool. So take a look at that. Actually, one other quick thing on this note. So the other thing that you can do is to, take your business cards. And again, if you don't have like a team that you're outsourcing to or something like that, or somebody that can help you transcribe, there really is no super easy way that I'm aware of to take a business card and transcribe it in. But one thing you can do is use in Gmail, they have something called a canned response. And so you can set up which is basically just like an automated response, sort of. And so you create this response, this basic email template, and then you type in the contact's email, so you're manually typing that in your Gmail interface, and you go canned response, and then great to meet you at, and then it puts in, hey, it was really great to meet you. Here's my contact details. Looking forward to catching up. And so that's one way you could do it if you don't have something like Snap. Okay, so how do you participate in these? Because participation is key. And we're not just talking about questions from the audience, right? So people do that. They do a lot of questions from the audience. They do a lot of rushing up to the speaker at the end, right? So the speaker does their thing and everybody sort of gathers around the speaker, and that stuff's good, right? You need to do some of that. but everybody tends to do that, right? Or maybe not everybody that tends to ask questions, but a lot of people. That's sort of the standard stuff. So what we want to talk about is really how to connect, right? So it's not just participation, but it's connecting with individuals, connecting with the right people, and then connecting with people on the level where they're going to remember you. Now, the way to do the remembering part is follow up. If you're not following up with them, if you're not going to send them an email, if you're not going to send them a quick text, something like that, you could do if you got your mobile phone on their cards, or if they give you that. If you're not following up, you're just not going to get anywhere, right? So there's no connection there at all. But when it comes to connecting, there's a couple ways to do it. So really, it comes to this sort of face-to-face thing, right? And we're not talking about you and this pile of people around the speaker, because it's very rare the speaker will remember you unless you do something amazing, right? Or again, mostly through your follow-up, will they remember you. But when it comes to connection, it's about the people that are next to you and around you. And that's really what I have found to be the most powerful, because you're not just connecting with that person, it's your network of people that you know connecting with their network of people that they know. And it doesn't mean like just because if you're just starting out, you don't know anybody, that's fine. Like, who cares? You'll still, even if you have a network of just yourself right now, you're still important enough to have other people know you. And so you can go out there and meet them. And even if they only have a connection of one, just themselves, that's fine. At least now you guys are two, right? And so now when you meet the next person, you've got at least a network of two behind you, and it grows exponentially. It grows really, really fast. And the way that you do this is you ask questions about them. And we talked about, how do you build rapport? You ask questions about them. Ask them about their business. How did they get started? What was their motivation? What was their biggest success? What have they seen working? What have they seen not working? What are things, knowing now, if they could start over, what would they do? Like, all of these sort of questions where you are actually genuinely curious about the answer. If you're asking just like as a questionnaire, kind of like you're collecting data, then it'll come across as rote, and it'll come across as insincere and inauthentic. And it'll actually hurt you, right? Because it just feels like they're being like interviewed by the police or something, right? Just this sanitary, like they're being like on a witness stand, and a lawyer's coming at them. Like, they don't want that feeling. They want this ability to have a conversation, to really, truly connect. So share a little about what's going on in your world, but mostly ask about theirs, because very few people do that. They're all willing to talk about themselves a lot, but very few people are willing to truly be curious about the other person and to care about what the answer is and to dig a little bit deeper, right? So as an example of that, if somebody said, hey, how's your day? And you say, fine, most people go, great, and they move on. But when someone says, fine, you go, oh, awesome, like what's going on, right? That throws people for a loop. That's going to be different. Out of 100 people, one person might do that. And if you're that one person, you're going to be remembered because you actually had a conversation about how their day was going, and wherever that goes. Now, these other connections, as they start happening, right, your job is then to help other people connect with other people. So you take somebody that you just met, and you sort of say, oh, hey, as you meet somebody else, right, let's say sometime later that day, you make sure that later on those two people can connect with each other. You help them to connect. That's all you have to do. Just introduce them. Hey, just wanted to make sure I met, Bob earlier, and I just met, Susan, I just met you a couple minutes ago. I just figured you two should meet too. Bob's doing something similar where he's a copywriter, and Susan's doing something where she generates traffic on AdWords, right? But it's good that they know each other. Now, all of a sudden, that connection you have with both of them just gets deeper. And you've got this super strong rapport because you are the person who's starting to make things happen for other people, even if it's not your business, right? So in our case, we're about analytics and conversions, and maybe neither one of those two people would need our services. They may not be direct clients, but because we're helping them, we're helping to have them have a good experience at this event, that they're meeting other people at the event. Maybe we're giving them some advice here or there, or, obviously just accepting their own advice if they're willing to give it to us. But we've got this deeper sense of connection. And when we do that, right, when we set ourselves apart, guess what happens when they get a really big client one day who needs help with analytics? Guess who they remember? They remember me, and they call me, and they say, hey, I got this guy I want you to talk to, or hey, I got this gal who's just started up. She needs this, and this, right? So that's where we get a lot of our connections from, and why we're so referral oriented, because referrals for us are the best absolute. Actually, in our case, it's the only source for private clients is referrals. But that's wise because we have so many of them coming in that we really don't need to take other sources right now. So, but it's because of that connection. So it's a super, super powerful tool to take advantage of. The other thing that I think is underrated a lot is the times of these meals, right? So you've got breakfast, you've got lunches, you've got dinners, and I don't know if you've ever gone to a live event. I go to at least 1 or 2 a year. This year I might even go to 3. But when you go to these live events, I tend to gain weight because it's all this food. Oh my gosh, there's so much food. But I'm kind of willing to do that for a week because I can go to these breakfasts, these lunches, and these dinners, right? Sometimes drinks afterward, actually a lot of times drinks afterward. And you can really, truly connect with somebody now that it's sort of social. For some reason, meals are very social, right? So you're not as social, you're kind of like performing when you're in the audience, right? Everyone's sort of listening and paying attention, and you can't have a conversation when the speaker's up on stage, and then when the speaker's done, if it's in between sessions, it's still, people there's a lot of other distractions going on. But when you're having a meal with somebody or just a group of people, which is also a good idea. So you get a group of people together, 5 to 8 people, everybody can sort of still pay attention to each other. It's not big enough where it splits off into little cliques of 2 or 3 people talking to each other only. But if you keep it to a nice small group, you'd be amazed at what the connections are there. And it's a very, very simple way to get rapport. So again, set yourself out, it gets you connections, you have better conversations because you tend to be talking about more personal stuff, about family and everything else that comes up. And meals, drinks, those type of events are absolutely crucial. So plan for those. So don't go to these events thinking, okay, I'm just going to, brown bag it. It doesn't mean you have to order the steak and lobster every time, but have a little bit set aside because this is something that you should participate in. And you should make sure you budget your time and the funds so that you at least have something. You can order a little side salad even. I mean, again, you don't need to be a millionaire to go to these things. Order something small, just something to nibble on while you're talking to other people, but you want to be at that table because again, you're connecting these individuals. Now let's talk real quick about how to know if they're the right individuals. This is a challenging one because especially with a lot of new people, and you may have run into this already, where you'll talk with somebody who you will know is probably still going to be saying the same sort of speech 5 or 10 years later, right? They just don't quite get it, and they're just not at the stage where it would be a really quality connection for you. Now, this isn't in a selfish way. This is in a you've got to guard your time way. And it's okay to help people out, right? But some people, I'm going to give you an example. When I went to that affiliate.com conference years ago, I was talking to somebody. I met this person, and I'll give you an exact kind of a case scenario here, right? So on case A, I meet somebody who had their own web development company. And he was just finishing that up and sort of getting rid of that, and he wanted to get in this online marketing thing, and he was just starting it up, and he was a super nice guy, and he was very tech oriented, and he was very friendly. He knew the speakers. I knew the speakers, so we had participated a lot on the actual affiliate.com course. He was very active in that. He was always giving things, like he was like, oh yeah, I set up this and this and help people with this, and he created videos to help people through the affiliate.com course, just to help them, just as a student helping another student. He was offering some stuff. So super cool guy, moving things forward, not only saying he wants to do this, but actually doing it, right? So he's becoming the teacher that he says he wants to be. Then case B, right, was another guy where I met this person and his wife, and he'd been they were both there, which was awesome, right? So you got this husband and wife team, and I'm like, oh, so what do you guys do? And they're like, oh yeah, we're just sort of starting out, we're just not quite sure what we want to do yet, and we're here to kind of learn, which is great, also a good answer, right? And I was like, oh, do you do a lot of these? He's like, yeah, we do them all the time. That's a warning signal, right? That's warning. If you keep going to live events and you're not moving your business forward, then that's your business. It's just going to live events and spending your money because it's just not an investment, right? So I was asked, he's like, yeah, I spent about $25,000, I think, on programs and all that stuff. We're just sort of figuring it out. I'm like, wow, like this is a guy who will be spending a lot of money until he decides he doesn't want to spend any more money, but he's not building his business. He's not taking action. And so how do you know if they're the right person that you would want to spend your time with? You see how much action they're taking, right? And again, not necessarily there at the conference, but in the conversations that they have, are they taking action to what they say they want to achieve? And even if they're taking the wrong actions, but they're trying, and maybe they're talking about their failures, like, hey, I want to be a good copywriter, but I've read these couple of copywriting books and they didn't fit for me, or I took this copywriting course, but it's just not, not my thing, and so, but I've subscribed to like 14 other blogs and I'm learning about it. And, so I'm trying to, write my own copy now and start my business and just not quite sure how to get started. Well, that person's in the beginning stages still, but they're at least moving, right? They're active, they're trying. And that's not somebody that's somebody you would want to hold on to as a connection, potentially, because if they figure it out, when they figure it out, because it tends to be that person they could be a really powerful copywriter. And if you get to be a really good copywriter, you get really good clients, right? And so in our case, that'd be somebody we want to know, not only so that our clients we can recommend to them, but vice versa. So again, the way that we look at it is when I meet somebody at a conference, I'm looking at how much action they're actually taking toward achieving what it is they say that they want. If they're not taking action, and if I can't tell that they're taking action, then it's just not a thing. Like us, if you've ever met me at a conference, you'll know I'm taking action. You'll know I'm somebody that, you know, takes action. Those are the people you want to be around. Those will become your peer group, which is also important. I don't want a peer group of a bunch of people who hope to one day be, right? I want a peer group of people who hope to one day be and are doing this today, right? So you always have to have that second step. Very, very important. Okay, so let's talk about staying in touch. Now we talked about email. So email is an incredibly easy, simple way to do it. There's also texting. So I know a lot of people that don't even, again, people that don't use business cards use phones, and there's not that, I mean, it's not that bad to do that because you get all their details, and a lot of people just exchange phone numbers now. Like, oh, let me just text you my details, right? And they text it. Once you have it texted, it's in your phone. It then gets uploaded to the great Apple in the sky or the great Google in the sky, you know, depending upon your platform, and then it connects with all their social platforms automatically, and next thing you know, you've got their Skype information and everything else. Like, it's an amazing tool to have that. So you want to take advantage of that, and basically anything that you can do to follow back up with them. So you'll see some people say, oh yeah, just look me up on Facebook. Great way to do it. Look them up on Facebook, get a Twitter, right? Start following them on Twitter. It's a really good idea to participate if they have a podcast, you know, sign up for that podcast and listen to it a few times and email them back some things that are specific that give them a signal that you're not just somebody else, right? You're just not some random person. You're the person that they met at Traffic and Conversion. You listened to the last podcast. You really appreciate their point about whatever. Or you saw that tweet about when they sent out the, you know, the cowboy photo or whatever it was, and you thought it was hilarious. Like something that they reference, right? So that shows that, yes, you are paying attention and you want to, like, you're in this relationship. You have this connection with them. You're just reinforcing that. So at the end of the day, that's kind of what it comes down to. And again, you can do something automated like Snap App. You can also use something called If This Then That, which is ifttt.com. And you can create little recipes like when I, you know, email this person, or when this person emails me, text me, so I can text them back. Like, you can do all sorts of stuff with IFTTT, much more than we have time to cover here. That's probably an entire episode on its own, but a fun tool to play with. At the end of the day, live events are the fastest way to grow your business. Now that, and I mean, I don't even like, yes, if you had somebody with a 1 million person list decide to email your offer to their list, that's also a fast way to grow business, but it's not consistent. It's a fast way to get a pretty big source of income for sure, but not consistent, right? Live events are the ones where you go out there and you meet people and you get these lifelong relationships, right? So I've got that guy I told you about where he was a ex-web developer and had this company who's kind of shutting down and moving into this internet marketing thing. His name is Jared Elvich. He's huge. He's got a great coaching business. He continues to work with actually some of the top names, Joe Barnes in social media, Chris Farrell over at Chris Farrell Membership, does a lot of work for them. And again, he's got these coaching clients that he helps with starting their own internet marketing businesses. So fantastic guy. And it's been years later. This is like 4 or 5 years later. You know, we're still tight friends. We go on Skype all the time and, you know, sharing connections, and we've you know, shared business contacts back and forth, and both of us have made money from the other person because of those referrals. I mean, it was amazing. And it's because of that conversation I had one day for 10 minutes by some dude who was sitting next to me. And I said, oh, hey, what's your name? You know, what do you do? And we ended up having lunch. And so his network became part of my network and vice versa. And that's how it works. So live events, absolutely the fastest way to grow your business. So if you are trying to figure out, like, if you have limited funds and should you buy maybe this new course, or should you go to a live event, go to the live event. You're going to meet more people. And if you don't have a ton of funds, go to meetups, because most meetups are free. Some are paid, but most are free. And you can still meet people that way until you have funds enough where you can attend something like a Traffic and Conversion or Affiliate Summit. All right, with that, I'm gonna go ahead and just wrap it up here again, looking for your one idea. What was your one idea? That's our whole goal here. So was it maybe like which event to attend, what to bring to the event, maybe some tips on the strategy we talked about or how to follow up. At the end of the day, it's all about action bringing results. So make sure you take action on these, because again, like we said, remember, that's how you can tell if somebody is real or if they're just talk. And it's the action. If they're talk plus they are actually moving, they're actually taking action on stuff, you want to hold on to those people, because they are amazing. They're getting stuff done. And the more of those people you have around you like that, the more you become like that. So that's kind of this little secret. So if you kind of feel like, man, I just been talking about this too and I haven't actually gotten started, there's no problem with that, because you can start at any point, right? You can make that decision to get started. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to adjust your peer group. And if you start surrounding yourself with people who are doing nothing but taking action all the time, you just sort of propel yourself into it, and it's a way to kind of force yourself into doing that, but in a good way. It actually is a good thing because you start seeing results. All right. With that, again, we're going to wrap it up here. Just want to remind everybody, if you did listen to this on a podcast and you want to join us, we're about to jump into the question and answer period. So for those of you who have any questions, go ahead and ssm.tips or go to the chat room. You can start dropping those in there now. And if you are not at Insiders Club, we're about to wrap it up here, but we do encourage you to join us over at SeriouslySimpleMarketing.com. It is completely free, just a service that we like providing. We like chatting with everybody and getting a beat on what's going on in your world. So hopefully we will see you in there soon. With that, thank you again for joining. This is the end of Digital Marketing This Week, episode 34, Getting the Most from Live Events.